parents will take on the mindset that, well, you're the second child, and even treat that child as if the first child, that role and that presence in that family is still taken
Right.
by another child.
Mm-hmm.
And then that affects the birth order
Oh.
development. Another scenario with the ghost child is, let's say that the first child is born, and by whatever tragedy, let's say that child dies, and then there's a second sibling or a third sibling. The presence, the absence of that child doesn't mean that the presence of the role is gone.
Right.
But then that second child immediately moves to the first child's situation.
Right.
And then it can abruptly change how the parents view that second child.
Yes.
Oh, you're the oldest now. You've got to take over where such and such left off.
Mm-hmm.
And that can really throw some calamity into life. The ghost child is a syndrome that's not been studied a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
It is beginning to emerge with a little bit more research behind it.
Right. What if the ghost child was the youngest? Do you think it would have any effect?
Yeah. Let's say you have 3 children in the family and the youngest dies. Then the last child then becomes the baby and can actually take on the attitudes of the birth order of the baby of the family.
Oh, right.
And the parents treat it like the baby of the family. And then that child typically feels guilty.
Mm-hmm.
There's a large part of that because I'm not the baby.
Right.
You know, and I can't act like the baby. I can't be the baby. As a matter of fact, I can't be that other child. I am me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never really thought about if there was a miscarriage or a death. So, what do you feel about a family of 3 or 4 kids, but there's a set of twins?
Well, both the twins are going to take on the same personality in birth order role, whichever is their first, second, or third, with the exception of if it has been emphasized heavily. Well, let's say child A came before child B in the birth process.
Right.
Child A becomes the eldest, child B becomes the next.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the typical personality traits will come out in that situation too.
Right. Do you think it has a different effect on boys rather than girls, or?
There may be differences in the range and scope, maybe a variance in the intensity of the roles with boys than with girls, but really clear, distinct differences, not generally.
Right, okay.
If the boy is born first and then a girl second, or let's say, a boy's born first and the girl second, or 3 siblings thereafter, he's still going to be in the leadership and the power role, and so is the girl if she were to be born first. But the boys will take it more seriously or to a greater intensity than the girls will.
Oh, okay. What do you feel the only child traits are?
Can go 2 ways. Research shows that you can have a very needy child because they've been spoiled and because the parents have given and given and given. They have this expectation the rest of the world will give to them also.
Right.
And that causes some problems. But then again, you can have that only child who has been reared with the attitude, sweetheart, we love you, but we're just your parents. There are other people in the world, and you always need to show respect and kindness and compassion to everybody else. You're not the only child in the world. You are our only child.
Right.
So you can have that both ways.
Mm.
And then you have parents with an only child that honestly did not spoil that child.
Yes.
No, you're going to work for what you get, and you're going to have this respect for other people. And that child grows up in a very well-balanced situation.
Right.
Typically, the only child usually comes out showing a little bit more neediness than other folks.
My dad, he was in a family of, he was the oldest of 5, and so I was wondering if, so is it just limited to the oldest, and then all the kids in between are just treated as a middle child, and then there's the baby, or what effect do you think more kids have?
It typically is the eldest child, the kids in between, and then the baby.
Okay. He was telling me, because it was him, another brother, then he had 2 sisters, and one was the baby. But he said the mom tended to favor his sisters. So do you think it, like, favoritism also tends to go with what gender?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Hold on.
See, my husband was born second in a family of 6.
Wow.
And he fought for the lead role in the family. And it's interesting. Down through the years, he's had the lead role, then the older sister would take over.
Oh.
Then my husband would take over, then she would take over. It was really strange.
Oh, gosh. Well, it seems, because I was wondering, if a girl was born first, but a boy was closely second, would the boy just automatically assume the oldest, like the leader position, since he's a boy?
They would vie for it, absolutely. They would try.
Yeah.
Depending on how dominant. Now, for example, again, in my husband's family, that lead girl is extremely dominant.
Right.
She liked that position and maintains it today.
And do you think the age of a parent is a factor?
Yes. Yes. Research will typically show you that younger parents, now let's say parents of affluence that are, say, in ages 30 and above, their parenting skills are going to be a little bit more organized, a little tighter. They're going to be the ones to do the research on how to be a parent and try to apply that to their lives. Parents that are, say, teenage parents, where there is no structure and no order very much, yeah, definitely an impact on the parenting style.
Okay, and